Hello, and welcome back to the Marvel stage. I'm Angelique Roche.
And I am Josh Soleil.
And we are, really? Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. And we are really excited because you have seen for the last couple days some amazing footage of Marvel Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. But what we are going to have today is a little bit of a look inside of the web. So inside the web of Marvel Spider-Man is going to be your next panel. I'm excited. Yeah. And we have some amazing special guests who are going to come up to the stage. First, we have Bill Roseman. Woo! Who is the executive director of Marvel Games. Next up from the Insomniac Games team, we have Brian Intihar. Woo! Who is going to be right over here. Next up, we have Jacinda Chu, who is the studio art director. Woo! And then last but certainly not least, we have Ryan Smith, who is the game director from Insomniac Games. Thank y'all so much. You're right there.
So we have seen the suits. If you haven't, you should have been here 30 minutes ago, but it's on Marvel.com as well. We have seen the great story reveals. We have seen the brand new PlayStation 4 Pro for Marvel Spider-Man. But let's talk to the folks behind this amazing game that made this dream become a reality. So what became of this amazing partnership? Yes. Two A-list teams coming together. How did that happen?
Planets aligned. It's a lot like a Marvel story itself. Sometime, an opportunity arises. There is a meeting of individuals. They must make a choice. Do they fight or do they work together? And in this story, we decided not to battle, but we said, wait, if we team up together, if we pool our strengths, we can have a true Marvel team up, and we can save the world. It's as simple as that. There's sometimes it is an aligning of stars and of planets. When a partner is available and has passion and is awesome, and we get the very lucky chance to work with them, and that's what happens. People have to be available, and we yes, let's work together. Let's do this. This must happen.
It's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And I know there is some really great stuff. I know, Josh, you saw suits earlier.
Yes.
Some amazing suits earlier.
Some amazing suits.
Can I say one more thing?
Please.
One behind, since we're going inside the web, a true story. When Marvel was talking to Insomniac and there was a discussion, well, what character, what should we do? It was Brian Intihar that said, we must do Spider-Man, and I must be the creative director of it. True story. So he is one of the pieces of the puzzle right there.
Well, that's actually a great segue.
Hold on,
Brian.
Yes.
So this is an original story.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of folks out there, Marvel Spider-Man has a huge canon. There's lots of stories, there's lots of runs, there's lots of issues. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what issues and runs may have inspired Marvel Spider-Man for PlayStation 4?
Well, I mean, we always start at the beginning, right? The very first issues. Obviously, Amazing Fantasy 15. We started right from the very beginning, and then went through, all the different writers. Obviously, something like the Ultimate Spider-Man franchise definitely made us look at how we could twist things a little bit, but still be very, very respectful to the franchise. And then someone like Dan Slott, who has some really crazy story ideas. And then when you first read them, you're like, where's he going with this? And it all kind of comes together in a really great way. So I would say, from the very beginning all the way to, Dan's final issue in 801 to, now Amazing Spider-Man #1, which I just read like a week ago, which was absolutely amazing. You better read it because it's awesome. So we just did everything and then just looked at what were the common kind of characteristics that everybody was doing, but then how could we twist it in a way that would feel fresh and unique to actually playing the game?
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So this game takes place, if you don't know, in New York, a living and breathing, colorful city. Brian, how did you go about tackling this city in the game?
Well, we treated it just like we would any character. I mean, New York City is one of the greatest cities in the world, and I really didn't do much. It's all really Jacinda and Ryan's teams that do a lot of the work, and it was just treating it like a character. It has its own personality, has its own feel, and making sure that every district feels a little bit different. Our Hell's Kitchen felt like Hell's Kitchen. Harlem, financial district, looking at what kind of makes those areas very identifiable, and then turning it over to a really, really talented team to bring it to life.
Yeah, so Jacinda, what are some of your favorite details in this city, like graffiti, if you will, and how did you make this city a character in the game?
So a couple things are my favorite things about the city. One of them are the citizens, because we've already said that this Spider-Man is a more experienced Spider-Man. He's been protecting the city for the last 8 years. So we wanted to reflect that in the city. So when he's flying around or zipping around, starts swinging, the citizens actually react to Spider-Man. So they'll take selfies with him. They'll greet him. High five him.
Spider-Man cannot punch citizens, but he can high five them.
And salute them.
Exactly. And then the citizens also react to him and change as the story evolves, because as you know, the city kind of has a love-hate thing with Spider-Man, so he never has 100% popularity in the game. And then one of my other favorite things, as you guys alluded to, is the graffiti, because we actually got real graffiti artists to work on the art in the game, because we want to be as authentic as possible.
So, Bill, do you have any favorite Easter eggs or cameo appearances, without giving anything away, in New York?
You just reminded me, I won't give it away, but when you're talking about the entire city, from Harlem to Wall Street, I'll just say this. There is a really, really cool, not even an Easter egg, it's just a Marvel element that is down in Wall Street. I won't say what it is. I'll let you discover it for yourself. When you do some screen captures and put it online, I think you'll dig it. I'm not going to say what it is, but it just goes to show kind of the attention to detail that Insomniac has, and the imagination, and just the cool wow factor that they've poured into the whole city.
Well, another cool wow factor of the game are the villains. And I know there was a lot of love and dedication and attention that was paid to designing the villains, but we're going to see some of our, and I hate to say favorite, but favorite villains, with a new little bit of a twist. So can you tell us a little bit more, Jacinda, about how the design and the work manifested in creating the villains for the game?
Sure. So one of the first things we do when we design a villain is we look at the long history of what's already been done before. So Electro is a really great example, because we also look at what's classic about the actual design. So with Electro, it's he's green and he's yellow. But if you guys know anything about the history of him, he's also got this giant star head.
The starfish mask.
Yeah, so it was one of those things that's really iconic about Electro, but we needed to modernize it. So modernization is also the other thing we look at when we look at these classic characters. So if you look at our Electro character, you'll see that we actually retain that star mask, but it's actually a scar on his face. But we also kept the green and the yellow, and we modernized him by giving his powers a reason for being. So that's why it's not magic, and there's a tech element to it. So that's how we go about designing all the villains.
So, Brian.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite villain? Is there a favorite villain of the Insomniacs? Who are you secretly rooting for?
So after E3, where we showed 5 new villains, the first question I got was, well, are there more? And I will tell you that there are more, and my favorite villain has yet to be shown.
Oh.
So the big one's still coming.
So we're not going to forget about Ryan. We want to hear from you as well.
Sure.
A big element of this game, it wouldn't be a Spider-Man game without traversal, without web swinging through the city. So how did you build this unique traversal element from the ground up? How did your team do that?
Yeah, well, so traversal was the first thing we started working on. Literally, the day the project was ready to go, we started working on swinging, because it's the most important thing we could think of for Spider-Man. The most important thing about swinging was that the webs were going to attach to the buildings. We knew that was key, and they had to stick to the buildings. So that's the first thing we started doing, is looking at the physics of that. How is that going to work? How is it going to work in a city that's the size that we wanted to build a city? And how are we going to get that just basically going down those streets? After that, we started looking at what's it going to take to make this city real, right? How do we account for complicated buildings or really, really beautiful buildings? Or even like at street level, how do you jump and get onto the wall when there's like maybe some garbage or an awning or something like that? And Spider-Man is just going to go right over that. How do we make that happen in the game? I think that one of the, along the way, there was lots of leaps and bounds in terms of we'd be working on swinging for a while, and then we'd hit something, a little bit of inspiration, right? And so when we got the wall run working, and you could control your way, and then flip over the top of the building, that's really, really cool. And then I know Jacinda's got some favorite moves. We like going through the fire escape is one of the favorite things that we worked on together, because that makes New York, the city, feel like a real place. You have those fire escapes all the time. It's one of those touch points where you know that it's real.
What would you say would be your biggest challenge in traversal?
Man, I think fire escapes are up there for sure. I think getting that sense of speed, and because you can be moving fast and not know, but we can sell it to you with like camera motion and pure speed and visual effects and the sense of kind of closeness to those buildings. And so getting that working, and when the camera became expressive and really made you feel part of the experience, that was one of the biggest steps that we made. And just keeping that going and paying off that fantasy and the momentum that you actually have.
Do you have a favorite combo through traversal?
I'm a big fan of, there's a lot of moves that you can chain together. And so we have, I think it's called the point launch. And you as you're zipping into something, you spring off of it, you get a big boost, and then you can chain that straight into some other moves. And later on in the game, you can actually do that just by hitting the ground when you land. And so you can start springing this, chaining this sort of spring move together and keep your momentum going.
That's awesome. So Jacinda, he mentioned that you have a favorite move. So I would love to hear, what are your favorite moves in the game?
I'm going to keep proselytizing this, because when I watch people play, they keep missing this.
Get it right, people.
I like to
It's the
swan
thing.
dive. I'm just telling you. So what you do is you gotta wall run up to the tallest building in the game, and then you just jump off and you press L3, and then you'll start swan diving. And then right before you hit the ground, press R2, to swing, and then your stomach just drops every single time. So when I'm swinging, I do a lot of I go as far as I can and just drop and come back up, and it's awesome. It's mind-blowing, and you need to try it if you guys are in line playing the game. Remember, L3 to swan
Jacinda's
dive.
watching you if you're playing. That's why everybody know.
And
I
judging.
am watching
judging.
you, because we just put a lot of time into it. You gotta try it.
I followed those directions when I first got my hands on the game. She's right.
So, Bill, I don't know about you, but one of my
Yeah.
dreams is to swing at Spidey's in real life.
Sure, man.
So how does it feel to swing at Spidey in this game?
I mean, what's so great is right from the beginning, they put so much work into making it feel very effortless. You know, you don't need to be intimidated. You start right away. We showed the opening scene yesterday on Hall H, and from that you go right into the web swinging, and it's the tutorial is quick and it's easy, and right away we wanted to capture that feeling of, again, this is an experienced Spider-Man. This isn't Spider-Man in high school. This is Spider-Man 8 years after he's been bitten by the spider. He knows what he's doing. He's an athlete at the height of his powers. He's still very much challenged by the forces that are conspiring against him, but he's in control of his abilities, and you feel in control of your Spider-Man, and so it feels exhilarating and awesome, and you finally get to be Spider-Man.
That's awesome. Yes. So we got the traversal. Now we're going to talk about the combat elements of this game, because another big part of this game. So Ryan, talk about the fluidity and the acrobatic improvisation that you created in this game.
Yeah, that's exactly where we started, because that's the identity of the character. We wanted, when you're fighting as Spider-Man, we want to feel like you're totally in control of the battlefield. You've got lots of things you can interact with your webs, right? You've got your acrobatic moves that you can do, and we never want to break your flow. We want to maintain that flow as much as possible. And from there, we go up into the air. That's the other thing. You can use your webs to get up and then pull guys up with you, which is one of my favorite things to do, slam them back down. And so keeping things going, whether it's using the environment or using the enemies, or even using the enemies like they're part of the environment, you can actually throw them back at other enemies after you web them up. So that's like finding all those different moves where we can connect with webs, with air, and your sort of core combat abilities and your acrobatic motion is the big goal for combat.
Brian, do you have a favorite story when designing the combat?
Combat was definitely a challenge because we, just like traversal, there was a big challenge to get it right. And I would say there was a point in development where everything finally came together. It was once we kind of got Spider-Man more off the ground, and once you had that with gadgets that are feel very Insomniac, right? And then when we added the extra layer of suit powers, it was just like everything kind of just opened up. So you really felt like you guys if you guys saw the E3 demo at the raft in that first room where you're using a lot of your acrobatics, you're jumping up, you're using that suit power, everything really comes together, and it just feels like we have a lot of like combat situations in the game, and you can really feel pretty expressive and play how you want to play. Just like we want you to swing around in New York City how you want to do it, you can fight any way you really want to.
Is there someone in the Insomniac department who is the best combat player?
Probably Adam. Yeah, so Adam, you guys have, Adam's one of our combat designers. He was a lot at E3. Adam was the guy who did all those cool things in the video. Probably Adam's probably the best. If he's yeah.
Are you trying to dethrone him? Anyone trying to dethrone him?
I would put some of our QA people against him for sure. Yeah.
No one's taking that bait.
So one of the cool things while you're in combat is that you have this opportunity, and I loved it. There's so many gadgets. Like, it's not just about the transversal. It's not just about jumping off. Like, there's so many things that he has at his fingertips, literally, to fight the baddies in this game. Ryan, you really wanted to bring, like, the Insomniac player to the Marvel Universe with these gadgets. And, you know, touch on how you were able to explain from kind of the melee into this air-based game. And like really into this web swinging, web throwing experience that folks are going to have.
Yeah, so we were able to bring certain web influenced gadgets into the game, right? So he's got his rapid fire web shooter in the first place. And then there's actually a weapon called the impact web that's like a one burst of web that he shoots out. And you can do that from the air. And what I like to do is really tactically be in the air, juggling some guys up in the air, pulling them up with you. And then you'll see maybe somebody shooting you from over there, and you can switch to the impact web and just stick right to the wall. So the gadgets have a real tactical feel to them, where you can use them in stealth, like the trip mine. That'll web a guy right to a wall as he walks by. Or you can use them from the air, and you just pop into aim mode, pick up your quick select, and fire them off.
So Jacinda, you had an opportunity to help design some of these gadgets. Is there one in particular or a few in particular that were really your favorite to design?
So obviously for me, my favorite gadgets are the web shooters. And just like all the designs that we looked at, I had to modernize them and then also make it our own. So I had to think about how Peter Parker would still always have his web shooters with him, even when he's not Spider-Man. So one of the things that I did was I actually hired an industrial designer or product designer to design something that is fully functional and reproducible in real life. So when Peter Parker's walking around, he actually has these two bracelets, if you guys have seen any of our trailers, that are kind of like Fitbits. And his web shooters actually snap into them. And then later on, when he's Spider-Man, he can detach the web shooters and snap them into each of his suits. So it's fully functional, and the designs, hopefully at some point we'll put them online. So if you guys are interested in it, you can check it out. Or if you're a cosplayer, hopefully you'll build them.
So Bill.
Yes, Angelique.
As you are doing this, what do you feel is like one gadget you had to have in the game?
It's very tough. It's not tough to answer, but the ones I love the most are the ones that have not existed yet in the comics and the film, because again, that shows the innovation that the Insomniac team is bringing to it. So Ryan, earlier you mentioned the tripwire. You stick it to the side, someone walks by it, boom, pulls them to the wall. And I'm like, that's brilliant, that's never been in the comics, but it's so cool. So I like, all the innovations you've done that are fantastic, but also realistic, and explains and showcases how Spider-Man is smart. He's an engineer, he's building these things himself. So anything, again, that comments on his character, that illuminates his character, and shows how the team is being innovative, those are the gadgets I like.
We got to talk about the suits, because we unveiled a new suit, Marvel Spider-Man Velocity suit, which is gorgeous. So, Bill, like the gadget question, I know it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yes.
which would be your favorite suit that has been unveiled so far?
Man, I like the first one we showed at the very beginning to announce to the world that we were making a game, and that's the enhanced suit. We worked very long and hard on coming up with a suit that is our Spider-Man, that shows that big white spider, that shows that when you see it, you're like, I haven't seen that Spider-Man before, but that is Spider-Man, and I can only play that Spider-Man in Spider-Man PS4. And we studied it, and we again brought innovation to it, and brought Peter's way of thinking. It's designed functionally. It supports his muscles. The red is support. The blue is breathability, flexibility, and the biggest thing is that white spider. And that came from, we looked at what could be another color, and we looked at his big eyes. Oh, the big white eyes. So that's another color on the suit, and that is an aspect of tech and protection on his hands and on his chest. And when you see it, you've never seen it before, but you're like, that looks great. And we wanted to have great respect for the suit because it is Spider-Man has the greatest design costume in the history of superheroes, full stop. And so if we were going to change anything, it had to have purpose and be additive and be cool and be awesome and distinct and be stand for the game. So when you first saw him stick to the wall and the crowd went, ah! I said, that's it, it worked. That's the suit.
Yes. So, Brian, with great many suits comes a great responsibility.
Yes.
You delivered on the promise to have all of these suits that we currently see, and I'm sure there's a ton more that we have yet to see.
There's a lot of really good ones left.
How was delivering on that promise and creating these suits?
Well, it was really hard because, I remember at one point we actually, Gavin, who was our character director up here earlier, and at one point I remember we were in our conference room and we printed out like 60 different pictures of suits.
Yeah.
And we just spread them across the table and we started doing
from comics, from TV.
No, yes, maybe, no, yes. And then just saying, you can only do this many, no, we can only do this many. But we tried to find a good mix between the favorites, maybe some more surprise ones. But I also think what was really cool was that with the MCU now, we had an opportunity to bring some of those suits to there. And to be able to work and get the Infinity War suit and the Iron Spider and wait till you see that suit power because it's freaking awesome. It was just this really, really awesome opportunity to see that. So, we have obviously a lot of classic suits. We have the movie suits and then original suits.
Yeah, that's awesome, yes. So, Ryan, suit power comes into a big play in this game. How does a player balance finding the right suit power with all of these suits to choose from?
You gotta get them all. So you can actually swap suit powers to any suit that you have. And so that's one of our big things is making sure that you could customize your experience so that you were playing the way you wanted to play and looking the way you wanted to look. Because there's a lot of really cool suits, and we didn't want to have something that was gonna affect your play in a negative way. We wanted only positive things, and you could always put them together the way you wanted to. So that's huge. And then as far as making them balanced across the whole game, you can choose anything. And we have worked the whole team. It takes the whole team together to make sure that they all work balanced in a way right across the game. And there's actually superpowers that can kind of match your upgrades. So, yep. And so as you go along in the game, there's some that I even sort of keep pace with your character a little bit.
So Jacinda, what are some of your favorite details within these suits? It's like a list.
I guess for me, this is a totally geeky thing to say. But it's the different materials of the suits, especially with next gen, the power of the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. Just seeing things like super shiny, super glowy, super clothy, super leathery. It's just
super clothy. Super clothy. I love it.
It's really cool to see it. And again, if you guys get a chance, PS4 Pro with a 4K TV. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
It just, and the suit designs, obviously we're playing homage to what's been done before, but to translate all this into 3D, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and like I said, I hope you guys enjoy the suits that we released. They're awesome.
Yeah, so I will say, so Gavin was up here a little earlier, right? And my favorite thing we would have a budget of how many suits we were gonna make, and then Gavin would just go make them, him and his team would make more, and he would send me a little IM, and he just would be like, Come on. Come on.
I made it
Come
already.
on.
I made it.
Like, yeah, and there's a couple of them in the game specifically for that because of Gavin and his team. So thanks to them, it's actually a larger number than we originally planned to do.
That is amazing. And sadly, that is all the time we have. But before we go, I have to make a quick reminder that you can get this game. You too can go pre-order Marvel Spider-Man for PlayStation 4 right now, or you can go step right over there and go play the demo, which you should. It's absolutely amazing.
Do both.
You're right. They should do both. And make sure you pick up your copy of the Daily Bugle. There's some things in there you may want to have when you actually download the game on September 7th when it is available. So I want to say a very special thank you to Bill, to Jacinda, to Brian, to Ryan for coming up here and taking us into the web. And yeah, go play the game.
Thank you, friends.
Woo!
Yeah. Spider-Man PS4.
Spider-Man PS4!